this. Well, good evening. This is the May Astrophotography group meeting. I'm going to switch over to the agenda. And there's that. Adam, you're the only quote unquote newbie here. You get any quick questions for the group, or we can say here's what I might need is Clay's. He wants to get done with his presentation and get gone maybe. So we could, if it's real quick, we can answer it maybe, and if we can't, we'll save it for later. You got anything that's like real quick?
No, I've been getting pretty good responses from the Slack. Any questions that I've had.
Good. Well, we'll say we're done with items number 1 and 2 right now. So I'm going to stop sharing and let you add Clay to let you share, and then take it away. Clay, are you there? There you go.
All right, can everybody see this?
Yes.
All right, so this is Astropixel Processor. This is the software that I use for when I do stack my data. All right, so here's the interface. Typically, when you start the program, this is what you see. And to start off, you will, wherever your data is, you'll pick the folder. And so mine's here, right there. So now that's the directory that everything's going to load from. So we'll go in here to the lights. We're going to start off with get our blues. We'll load those up, and I typically just leave the filter header. I typically just leave it like that. This was only one session. So now it shows that we got all of our blues loaded up. There's all our blues. Then I'll go into my lights again. Then we're going to go to our greens. Load in our greens. I leave the filter header tag. I'll leave that clicked. One session only. And now it shows that our greens are loaded up. Then we'll go back to the lights.
That's neat how they're the right color.
All right, so we'll go to our HA. Leave the filter header. And our HAs are loaded. Then we'll go back to our lights again, or to our light. We got our HAs. Then we'll go and get our luminance. Now our luminances are loaded. And the last thing we need are our reds. We'll go over here. We'll get our reds. Now all our frames are loaded, and out the box, typically with the default settings, Astropixel Processor does really good. If you see over here at the top left, you can go through individual tabs, set all the settings that you would like. I typically just leave it as it is, coming out, the way it is. But you can go through every tab and check what you would like. And you go to every tab, look through all the settings, and but I just straight out the box.
Okay. Well, tell us, start back at the beginning in terms of how did you come across this software and bought it out of the box? I mean, you jumped right in, which is good, but maybe some new folks may look at this as an opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I just had a mentor friend. He's like, um, starting off, Pix Insight is a lot to learn. And he was telling me Astro Pixel Processor is a pretty strong stacker out the box, and he suggested Astro Pixel Processor to me. And I watched a couple tutorials online, and I used it for a while. I don't 100% know the whole entire program. There's a lot that this program can do, but with my, I just out the box, I just load up all my frames, and I just go straight over to tab 6 and integrate. Out of the box, all the default settings are really good, and it does pretty quality work. And so I'll go ahead and start the process and go ahead and let it integrate.
It integrates all of them, or do you integrate each color?
It integrates all of them together.
Hey, Clay,
And yeah,
before you do that, can you click on the normalize tab and tell me what's going on there?
um,
Okay, so is that default right there?
yes, that is all default.
Okay.
I haven't messed with any of that. I would like to sit down one of these days if I got some free time and watch some more tutorials online to really get deep down inside this program. But from default, out the box, this
Yeah,
is a
that's
pretty strong
fantastic.
program. It's a
Yeah,
very strong.
I like that it just normalizes as a default. I also like how it color codes. You
Yes.
clearly see your reds, your blues, your greens when you're bringing them in.
Yeah.
There's some interface things I really like about this.
Yeah.
I've never seen this in action.
Don't know about, but
Now, is there anything about rejection though? There's a lot like, are you supposed to go through and look at satellites and reject them yourself, or do you let?
It actually, from my understanding, watching, you can this right here, this little box right here, as it's getting ready to integrate all the files together, it will actually score them. And if it drops below a certain score, it will kick them out.
Oh, I love it. That gives you real-time feedback of that.
Yes, real-time feedback. So I'm gonna go ahead and just come over here to integrate.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we're gonna go ahead and start and watch this box. All right, so we're gonna call this NGC 253. All right, so we're gonna go and start this. And if you watch this box right here, it's doing all the magic right in front of you. It's actually analyzing the stars, and you can see the quality score. It gives you a quality score of all the frames, and if it drops below a certain point, it will kick them out.
I would expect this data to be very, very good, or you wouldn't be able to sell it. So our data that we take in the field is, there probably will be frames kicked out.
Now, if you have a lot of data, it does take a minute, but it typically will process through it processes through these pretty quick. And I'll show you another feature what I like about this program too.
And you're gonna cover the tools tab.
Yes, that's what's going to be next.
Okay.
So now that it's registering all the photos,
Wow.
normalizing right here, it's normalizing all the files.
Well, okay, normalizing meaning what?
It's probably the same as Pix Insight, Merrill, where, if like if something was a little cloudy, one of your it would compensate for that
Yeah, that's okay.
to make the lights consistent.
Right. Okay. Just want to make sure.
Mhm.
All right, so now we're integrating all the frames together.
I assume it calibrated, well, these are calibrated frames. If you didn't have the calibrated frames, it would do the calibration for you as well?
It does. Yes, it does the calibration. It can actually save the calibrated files.
And then you load those up.
Yeah.
It's processing this data pretty quickly, I'd say.
Remember, these are 20-minute images.
Right.
All right. So now that we look here, our color, our picture is black and white.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So all of our data is done. All of our data is done. I'm gonna bring this up right here, and you can see that we're black and white. We should not be black and white. So here's where we go over to tools. And in tools, you scroll down right here, you'll see combine RGB. So once we click this, it's gonna come into our this tab right here. Then we're gonna add channel, and it's gonna bring up your directory. And under your directory, you'll find the individual file, Blue Session. So we're going to load that one up, hit open, and you'll see this right here, shot with filter blue. So now we got blue added, and it'll pop the directory right open for you. So now we're going to go to session 1, green. So we did that. Now we got our greens. Add channel. Our HA right here. We'll go ahead and open that up. Add channel. All right, so where's our luminance? Let's see. Session 1 right here. We'll load that up. Okay, and add channel. Red session 1. Now we'll hit recalculate. Okay, that didn't.
Did you add the red?
It looks like you see some amount of color, but not much.
Okay, let me try this again real quick. All right, so I'm gonna go to create RBG image again, channel. Do you see blue session? There we go. There's the blue. Maybe I might have missed one. Did you see? Here we go. There's our luminance. All right, now red. Red session 1. There we go. Okay, now recalculate. All right, this is not work for me. Okay.
I know it worked for you because you posted.
Yeah. So let's see. Maybe okay, that's our luminance. All right, so combine RGB again. Let's try this again. All right. Let's go blue session 1. Blue.
Now, you're getting
channel.
integrated blue. Is that what it is?
Yeah, you got to since it processed all of it, breaks them down all down into individual files. So you have to go, and the next step is to combine RGB.
Right.
All right, so let's do this.
Okay.
Now red. All right, now let's try this again. Recalculate.
Third time's charm.
No, I'm not getting an RGB color.
Do you,
Uh,
you tell what kind of color space it is, or it just does that automatically?
it does that automatically. Let's take a look down through here. Yeah, for some reason it's not working for me right now. Cancel. All right. Okay, let's see here. Hang on. What we should have, we should have. Okay, well, let's see what happens if we do. Okay, okay. All right, recalculate. What we should have possibly is this.
Okay, you see the histogram's got some color in it.
Yep, yep. What we should have is this. So we're gonna save this as, the LRGB1. Okay.
And that has HA in it as well.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're done with that. We'll hit now. Over here, since if this would have been the next step after we got all of our colors put together. Over here on the right side, I like to hit normalize background. And here on the stretch, I like to go, you can go all the way down to a light stretch. I like 10% background, 3 stigma, and 2 this third option right here. This is the option I like the most. Here you can go with your all these different settings here. You can mess with that before you take it into Lightroom. But other than that, I'll usually you can add some saturation to it. This area right here, I normally mess with this once I'm done, but we're not done. We need to go over to under the tools section, remove light pollution. I'll do this right here. And sometimes this is a little time consuming because all in your dark areas, you put these little boxes. Let's see if I can put some in here real quick to kind of give you an idea of all in your dark areas. You put your little boxes in there.
Like DBE.
All right, let's see how this does. I'll probably put over here a couple of here. Maybe a couple of them over here.
Do they have an automatic choice of those?
No, I've always have to manually put these in. You could change the flexibility. You could change this area a little bit more. But other than I got 47 areas created, and what I'll do is I'll go down here to recalculate.
Mm-hmm.
And it done that, so we're okay and save.
Yeah, his background's pretty good to start out with.
Yeah. Other than that, that's all I did on this. You
How-
can.
Before you leave this, have you tried images with big gradients across it, and how well does it go or do?
It does really good. I've had trouble with Moonlight, and it does pretty good with it. But the only thing I used to process this was the calibrate background. Well, the remove light pollution. That's all I did with this to kind of darken the background a little bit more. Other than that, you got your little settings over here on the side over here at the background. You can lighten it, or you kind of darken it down too. Just out the box for this program here. You can sharpen it just a little bit. Maybe that's a little too much. You can do highlights. Darken the highlights with that tab. Sometimes I'll mess with this just a little. I'll tweak it with this just a little bit. Other than that, my last step is to take it right over here into Lightroom, and that's I'll just right here in Lightroom, I'll do some highlights, maybe take some whites down, add a little clarity, some vibrance.
What's Lightroom?
You see it on the screen right here?
Yeah, I'm looking at Lightroom.
Yeah, this is Adobe Lightroom. It's just kind of like a finishing touch, kind of like
No,
Photoshop.
we're not seeing Lightroom.
You must have. I probably have to unshare. And
Okay.
No, it's probably on another. If you have two monitors, it's probably on another
Okay.
monitor. Just drag it over to this one.
Okay, let's see.
The one that has the Astro. Yeah, I see your mouse right now. That's the good
Okay.
monitor.
Share.
I bet you have to. There you go. Now we're.
All right, so this is Adobe Lightroom. It's it's a lot lighter of it's a quick editor for pretty much just basic pictures. But I just do like a couple tweaks in here, like my highlights, my whites, add a little bit of clarity, some vibrance, and I'll come down here into the regions of highlights. Take some lights down, some darks, whatever, and sharpening amount, stuff like that, and luminance, and pretty much I'm done with it.
Now, does this come as this part of the Astropicto process?
No, this is an Adobe product.
Okay, well, I'm just curious because you got to basically to do what you're doing, you got to have two components.
Yeah. But
Okay.
it's just kind of like Adobe. That's just kind of like just a finished product that I use.
Can you zoom in on the Lightroom just to see? Because one of the characteristics of 253 is that real light, wispy stuff.
Okay, let me take it back over to Lightroom.
Yeah, I mean that's just one of the characteristics of this.
All right, coming back over to Lightroom. And what is it that you wanted?
Just zoom in so I can see the core. I mean, see it. So we can see it. Yeah, see the wispies. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, it looks like we got. Hang on.
A little bit
Was there a
harsh, I would say. But
Oh, hang on. Sharpening. Let's take the sharpening down on that a little bit.
yeah,
No. Clarity. Let's take a look. I might have added a little too much clarity to it. Oh,
I think you just blew your highlights out is all.
yeah.
well,
Highlights.
yeah.
Well, no, I actually. Well, no. Yeah, possibly should.
Well, we don't get hung up on this, but it basically, I mean, it looks like it has the same kind of tools that PixInsight does. Some of them are automatic. I mean, I didn't see you do any noise reduction. Not that this data needed it. What if you had noise? How do you get rid of noise?
Okay, let's go over here to Astro Pixel Processor. Let's see. Wait, no, we don't want that. As far as noise, calibrate background possibly.
Well, the noise will be in the signal as well.
Yeah,
I'm just curious trying to compare tools to tools.
right. For and sometimes you could just kind of hover over the tabs and they'll give you a little bit of
The light pollution tool probably does a little noise reduction.
yeah.
You think?
That's what, yeah. I mean, a lot of your noise comes from light pollution, so I'd assume so.
Yeah, that was, to me, it was analogous to dynamic background extraction, because he didn't put any spots on the galaxy. He just did the background.
So let's take a look at a couple of these tabs. See the so here's all your options before you go to integrate. You can go in here and click all your settings that you would like. Then when the very end, when you're ready, you just go over to the integrate tab and go all the way down and just hit integrate.
I assume the manual tells you what all those mean?
Yes, yes. For me, I just sometimes I'll get on YouTube and watch a couple of tutorial videos to like when I got ready to do my comet when we had the one in 2020. I used this program to do the comet, and I watched a couple of videos online. And so this, I mean, this program can do it. It can do a lot.
So for a newbie, making a choice which way to go, what does this cost you a year? You said you rented a year, or you
I rent it.
subscribe
I
it?
think
Subscribe it?
I think to rent the program is around 60 something dollars a year for an entire year, and I think to buy it's closer to $200.
Mhm. Anybody else have more questions? I've been doing all the talking.
Yeah, can you go back to the tool list? I can't see on my screen the tools. You had them up there. It's the one you used to combine the RGB and
Yeah, I got the tools up now.
That's what he's got right now.
okay, on my screen, I'm not seeing them. Let's see. There was a list of them on the left.
Yeah, you may not have your screen wide enough or something.
That's probably what's going on. Let's see.
Yeah, see if you can scroll to the
Oh,
left.
that's what it is. Okay, I was zoomed in. Thank you. Okay, yeah, I mean, scrolling down there, it looks like there's some really powerful stuff. Like there was a star reducer there, right? See that?
hmm
HSL selective color. It probably lets you go in there, tweak some colors.
I think by looking at this right here, it can actually please wait by importing image into tool. I have messed with this before. Let's see. Please select colors on the adjust. And so you can go down through here and
Yeah.
you can do all kinds of.
Yeah, it's very powerful and it gives you pretty quick feedback too. There's some really great things about this software that I like.
Yeah, do you need to have the Lightroom? I mean, it looks like you got the sliders and
Well, sometimes I'll just put it in Lightroom, to adjust clarity just a little bit, or add some vibrance to it. This program does a pretty good bit, but I don't have to have Lightroom, so I just
Sometimes
use
it's
it.
just easier to use multiple tools. I mean, this is Brian, by the way, I do some of the same stuff. I bounce between Serial and Photoshop, and partly because I've been using Photoshop for 25 years. So it's just easier for me to do some things.
now that one there looks like, to me, it looks like you got a green in the background. There's a tool in PixInsight called SCNR. It removes it. Do you have something like that? And maybe it's just my screen, but
Let's see, you just put one little box here, recalculate.
Just add a little red and recalculate, probably get rid of it.
There we go.
interesting. And how
And
do
you can go.
how do the stars look a little bit undersaturated? I thought I saw a star, one of the tools that you can do something with the stars.
All right, so calibrate star colors, and you got to even star reducer, calibrate star color. I think that's what I just did, was calibrate star colors.
Mhm.
And you can crop the photo in here too.
But does calibrate stars, saturate them more? I mean,
Possibly. Let's see.
that's something you can do on, light box, whatever.
Yeah, you see right here, we got the drop down. We can balance RGB, adaptive, black body, and that's what it was already selected on. You can actually change the colors. Change the colors here.
Specifically of stars.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And you
So
guys-
if we go with this area here, then let's go to recalculate. Let's see here. All right, so we got that. Let's recalculate now. Yep, see when we changed the colors, well, it changed the galaxy too.
Does it have the feature of separating the stars from the image?
Not that I know of.
Just look on the stars.
I don't 100% know all this program can do. So I'm still learning a lot myself about it. And that's pretty much my workflow.
Yeah, we've got a couple of new folks here. Do they have any questions about this? I assume you'll get into that soon. Sunita or anybody?
Yeah, this is
Yes. I
Far
mean,
beyond-
okay.
this is just far beyond my grasp, but it was nice seeing this. I just been using Deep Sky Stacker and GIMP for my images. I don't feel like my data acquisition is good enough for me to be using these advanced programs yet, but I eventually I'll try to get into PixInsight or something.
You're just starting the journey.
Yeah, but it's nice seeing the workflow that y'all use.
Sunita, you were saying something?
Yes. I mean, I wanted to ask Clay, what are we looking at? This is I mean, which galaxy? And also, which equipment did you use in order to click these pictures? And, what was your exposure?
let me answer that. A couple years ago, I bought this data from a guy who does this professionally. And we played around a couple years ago, the group of us. And what my intention on this exercise is how much have we grown in our skills to process it to a really good outcome. It's NGC 253 to answer the question, but this is in the southern hemisphere. So this is purchased data.
Yeah, data came from the southern hemisphere, but the galaxy is a sculptor galaxy, so we actually have it up here in the north as well.
What's the deck on it? Minus 30.
No, it's above 30, I believe, not by much. I have to go look it up, but because I've done this one before a long time ago.
And
it's one to where it won't clear my house. I have to get it before it goes to the back of the house and after the house, basically. So it's like maybe 25, 30 range from where I do on the back patio.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's the southern. I think it's Chile. That's where you got it from. That answer your question, Sanita?
Yes.
I got it where you got it from, so you'll see it in my presentation.
Okay. Oh, okay. Great. There you go. Well,
And the other thing is, I mean, so what equipment did you use in order to be able to capture this galaxy?
He used a CDK 20 or something like that. And
I got that as well.
Okay.
I have that data.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good equipment because he does this for a living.
Okay.
Yeah, Meryl, there's some problems I had with the data. There's a line on the left side that wasn't calibrated out that's pretty strong, and the line on the top. Did you notice that?
No.
Okay, I'll show it to you. I don't have my equipment here. I'm on the road. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
I did too, Steve. I cropped that out and just kind of zoomed in on the whole thing because of that.
Yeah, it created a challenge for me because I wish that he would have let us calibrate it. That's all.
Well, then he would have to give you all of his calibration frames.
That's right.
What I did, I zoomed in like Brian was talking about there, because what the example was zoomed in. So anyway, when we get to mine, I'll show you it. John probably did the same thing.
What's really cool about Clay's presentation is he didn't have to deal with it at all.
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
On the fly, it kind of corrected it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's almost off the frame there. Like, and if you look at Clay's screen, it's like an inch to the left of that galaxy.
Really?
Or two, yeah, it's all, but way to the left of it, and it's all the way, almost all the way up and down, and then there's a less prominent one on the top. So, and what I always do in PixInsight is I super nuke the loom, and it wasn't, and I saw it there, but when you super nuke the RGB after it was calibrated, you go, oh golly, what am I going to do about this?
Was that on the edge of the frames?
It was close to the edge.
Yeah, that's probably because it looks like he had dithered the data. So you're going to get some edge artifact and stuff. So you probably see the prominent lines on the top and the side.
Yeah,
but it was like, if looking at that screen now, you see those two bright stars in the middle? Yeah. It's right there. Go back where you were.
Yeah, it wasn't like an edge dithering. It was further in. It was
further in,
like 10% in, and it was a pretty defined artifact, I thought.
Yeah, and you'd think, I'm not going to say who this came from. You'd think it wouldn't be there, but it was.
Well, let's look at John's when he in PixInsight, because I've done this many times, several times anyway. I never saw that, so that's
okay. I wish I had it here.
Okay, Clay, thank you so much for this. This is good exposure for us.
Yeah, thank you, Clay. That was great.
Okay, John, you're up. Well, that's not NGC 253 though.
But it's nice.
It is.
Yeah, that's the Hercules cluster. You
posted that the other day, didn't you? On the
yeah. I did a few extra little tweaks on it to get a little better color out of it too. So Galaxy Process is my version 2, but I posted my whole workflow. I did 2 workflows. I had a old and like a new in the Slack channel, and so this is kind of a work in progress. Where the old way, since I got the blur exterminate all that little X crap, so it's like transitioning from where it did some of the old stuff to go to the new stuff. So this is processing NGC 253. It's the Sculptor Galaxy. It's also the Silver Coin Galaxy, or the Silver Dollar Galaxy. I use PixInsight latest version. This is the released on 3/20/2024. So how to get from all your frames on the left side to go to the right side without staying at the Holiday Inn Express, and then shoved them all in there. It separated them out by HA, luminance, red, green, and blue.
Hey, John, did you have any trouble dragging those in? One of those frames didn't work for me.
All of them went in.
Okay.
Went in there, but I think you'll see here in a second.
Okay.
But then there's pretty much my default. You got the linear defects correction set. I got subframe weighting done, image registration, local normalization, and then the image integration. I don't do the auto crop because I've found some of my data, if I get, especially over multiple nights when I'm capturing data here in the backyard, if some frames get a lot too far off redoing, then it would crop too far in or something like that. So.
Okay, so you actually do the linear defects correction. Is that normal for you?
Yeah. What you see here is by default, everything I do, it goes through this little process.
Steve, have you used that, Steve?
No. His camera, you really don't need to use that. His camera is a behaving camera, as Adam Block likes to say. So there's really no problems in those columns and rows. I definitely wouldn't check that on this data. Now on Ann's roads data that she pulls, she has to deal with that. She's got a camera that has those like full rows that has to be calibrated.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not cosmetic correction.
Yeah, I do have cosmetic correction under when you hit the calibration tab, but you go down there to your data and you can click on that and there's a cosmetic correction spot. You do that. I usually check that as well.
Okay.
Which I don't know if I have that screenshot. I got the screenshot of post calibration. Somebody had also did a 2x dithering on it as well.
Yes, you do have to remember to check that before you open weighted batch pre-processing.
But this is still part of the weighted batch pre-processing scheme here. You have to go in and check it before you press go. Otherwise, it won't do the drizzle on it.
Yeah, I would have said his data was a little bit under sampled. But
so you got well, it's actually a slight argument going on. I've seen about drizzling and non-drizzling. I ran across a couple of videos today and yesterday about it, and about 2x drizzling or not the drizzle 1x and stuff like that. And it's getting ugly. So
John, I ran it through both ways.
Yep.
The drizzling was vastly improved image.
The drizzling I like about the 2x drizzle is the stars look a lot better compared to non-drizzle.
Yep.
And that's
that's where I saw it, John.
Yeah, they're smaller, but they're also, I think, more compact. So when you look at them, when you blow them up, they're not as pixelated either. They're a lot smoother.
Right.
But so these are the frames it kicks out. So you have a master light for red, green, and blue, luminance, and HA, and you'll see there's 2 sets. The one I got highlighted, the 2x drizzle. The other ones that are not highlighted, that are right below them, is a non-drizzle set. Then you have down below that, you got the local normalization reference frames. And then you had a few other master light reference frames and stuff. So it took 1 hour and 31 minutes, 21 seconds to do this. So the stacking HA results, so he had 3 light frames, and then it just goes through. So it's 3 frames, 3 active. If you remember the counts in the front, we only had 3 frames. With luminance, we had 8. We got 8 and 8. With blue results, there's 12 frames. I got 12 active. Green was 12 and 12. And red, I had 9 out of 12. So 3 frames got rejected.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. What did you reject? Was that how did you reject?
Well, picks and sights one, and when it goes to evaluate everything, and if it doesn't meet certain criteria, it just ejects it out.
So-
I mean, most of the time, if it's got satellite trails in it, whatever, it usually doesn't reject the whole frame.
No.
It'll take the trails out and stuff like that. But if the frame is bad enough that it can't do anything with it, it easily reject it out. And I have to go back and look at the log file of what it actually said about those. I didn't put that in here, but
Yeah. So it rejects actual frames.
yeah, three of them.
Did you use
Three of the red.
did you do default rejection of WBPP, or did you play with that?
I think that might be on the default still, or maybe I've changed that. Because it could have also been the subframe weighting that I think I had a weighting formula that had a preset in there for Galaxy, and it may not have liked something in that.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting.
So and then you basically open the master file, so you have R, red, green, and blue, and this goes the long file name, exposure 1206, blah blah blah. Make life easier for me. I usually go through and just change the image identifier to whatever it is. So if it's L for luminance, R red, G green, B blue, HA for the HA. And I usually do a screen transfer function stretch to be able to see the data. It's basically like a little new button on it to bring it out. And then you got all of them right here open. I go to crop them. I just basically crop up the edges because I know since it was dithered, it'll have some edge artifacts in it. So I just basically take some of the edge stuff off it. And you can highlight one frame, select what you want to crop the selection basically on the dynamic crop. And before you hit the checkbox on it to say, okay, drag the triangle to the other frames, it will crop all those. Then you can crop the last one by hitting the little checkbox. So they'll all be cropped the same way. Since registration does all the star alignment and all that stuff, you're all really good to go.
Yeah, that's a better way to do it, John. I see what you're talking about. I've been
Yeah,
doing it automatically.
Yeah, what the other thing you can do is you can take the triangle and drag it to the desktop and create another little icon on the desktop, and then you can drag that icon to each individual one, does the same thing. But yeah, I mean, that's here. I mean, usually I only plan to do one, and what I normally would do is if I have a color image, when you do your stacking pixel insight and you open the thing, open up your master file, you have 3 photos. You get a low pixel rejection, you got the high pixel rejection, then you got the actual data.
Right.
And then I usually low pixel rejection gives you all the satellite trails, anything weird, goofy artifacts. I just close that one. I usually just take the high rejection, which is usually more white background, and I nuke that, and you'll see all the your stacking artifacts where everything was dithered. You'll see, and I can usually go in there and find the common spot that all the frames have, highlight that with the dynamic crop, and then crop that.
Oh, that's clever.
So when I'm doing it this way, since you really didn't get that data that much on these, I just it was very minimally, not that many frames, so it wasn't dithered a whole lot. So I just go through and just did this, just highlight what I want, drag it to the other frames, and then crop the last one. So.
Yeah, I like that.
And the pixel math. So I did the HAR combination with the red green, or with the green and blue. So I used pixel math. I stole the formula out of Kunwar's presentation he did for the Astro Imaging channel he did for NGC 55. So he had R plus and then parentheses HA minus the medium HA and all that times 2. And then, so I used that for red, blue is blue, green, G is green, and then gave it an image ID, NGC 253, RGB color space, and it's a little square box so it will go through and combine it onto one image. So now I've got master light minus the luminance at the moment. So I get lazy, so I just did an automatic background extraction. Just drag and drop it out of the defaults. And on the right side, it shows you the background it pulled out. Left side shows you what was left over. You see there's a lot of green there. So I can use dynamic background extraction. You can do automatic background extraction. You can use graph skirt. You can use the gradient correction tool. I just used ABE on this one. So master light, I ran BlurX to do the correct only on the stars. I think he's actually getting away from that on this tool, but it's still there. That basically goes through, you look at your stars, anything that is kind of oblong, slightly off, it'll correct all those. So this is basically your deconvolution on your stars. So it'll actually keep them all nice and tight and shrink them a little bit. And this is for version 4, the AI uses, it makes it like this is the miracle tool here. That's the reason why I bought it. Otherwise, I didn't even have it.
Yes, it is.
And then you go through color calibration, image solver script. You go to scripts image analysis, image solver, press search, put in the date, your image that you got. So it's NGC 253. For drizzle data, if you don't want to chase a bus, I can't run over by a bus. Whatever the pixel size is for your camera, since you've drizzled the data ×2, you got to cut that value in half. So I've got 1159 for the millimeters for the focal distance. So the pixels, I think, was like 6 micron. So you cut that in half to 3, and then it will solve correctly.
John, when I
Otherwise,
ran this thing through WBPP, it gave me a perfect plate solve. I didn't have to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah, I don't do the plate solve during WPP.
Well, that probably explains why I had the rejection and you didn't.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So color calibration number 2. So you do the spectral background, spectrographic photometric color calibration. This is where it helps to know what the filters were. Because at first I figured, well, if it's a professional spot, I figured maybe use the some of the either what was the other, chroma filters or Astrodon. So when I first processed this, I processed it with chroma. And, that's when I looked at the FITS headers, couldn't find anything. And when I found his website and went through, that's when I saw he was using Astrodon. So when I reprocessed it again, I used to put that in there. It's not that much of a difference between them when you look at it overall from what I've seen. Take a little preview window of some of the background area and use that for your background neutralization. You select region of interest and you select your preview from there. And then for the OE curve or QE curve, I used, since you had the camera type in there, so I was able to select the camera, and the average white reference was the average spiral galaxy. So then you can change that. And it spits this out, and then it still got a little green tint to it. So here's your SCNR. You can pick red, green, or blue. So green, bring it down a little bit, 0.68 the amount, drag and drop it on it, and it'll pull the green away. So it makes it a little more natural.
We're not seeing that line you were talking about, Steve, there. I don't see it in this one anyway.
If you look at the RGB data and you super nuke it, Merrill, it'll show up pretty strong.
Okay. Well, why would you super nuke it then?
Well, I do that to see what I'm dealing with.
Okay.
So the screen transfer function is never permanent. It is just a way
sure.
to,
Right.
it's a way for you to just look at the data. So I do a super nuke on luminances and combined RGBs before I proceed, just to see, okay, is there any dust trails in this thing? Is there that I need to keep? So it's how I look at data.
Yeah, I know that's what your description said. I just
Mm-hmm.
never done that, but obviously.
Yeah, I only hit the nuke button once to look at the data. I don't really go past that point. I mean, you can go in and change the histogram to go farther down for it, but I figured I don't want to pixel peak too bad.
Yeah, when I get home Monday, I'll do a snapshot of that, Merrill, and put it on the Slack channel.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Then do a master. You're stretching your data now. I got easy tools. So I use easy soft stretch. You can also use histogram transformation. You can use the GHS, which is your generalized hyperbolic stretch, or use the force if you want. So I use easy soft stretch. Basically, just highlight your picture, go up to the tools, easy, sweet, click easy soft stretch, and it pops this up here. And to me, it looks pretty good. Just run it, and you got a little drop down there. If you don't have the right one pick, you can always drop down and pick the one you want, and then it'll give you the preview on it, and just let it go. And then I did a HDR, so I use easy HDR. So anything that's kind of really bright, like the core area, to kind of tone that down a little bit. So kind of like same thing you probably do with M42 with this core. You're trying to get to the trapezium. If you've done a lot of like 5-second shots, 10-second shots, 15, 30 minute, it'll help even all those out and bring out that core area. To run easy. Then do a curves adjustment. You press O on bottom left side, it'll bring up a little preview window and a little more, bring down the bottom, make it a little bit darker, and then right in the middle, bring it up just a tad to bring up the highlights. Then this is one of the old ways I did it, was I would basically run a convolution on it to blur the image. And I think this was one way to actually kind of beat some of the noise that's actually in the image, but NoiseX will actually take care of that now. But this is a pre-NoiseX tip I would usually do on a lot of the data. So it's basically set standard deviation is 6.5, sharpen to aspect ratio 1, and it will just basically just do a slight blur to the whole image. And then I set that aside. Master luminance for, you can run BlurX for the defaults on it to help correct any stars. And you can do an automatic EFF on it, so it'll sharpen non-stellar data. And
Which
even if you don't
just-
do,
which you
so this
just
is doing this does correction on it and everything else. This is just for the luminance channel, because I only did correct only on the other RGB combo data, but this here's a little more extra step on this. And then I ran NoiseX on the luminance. Since I got the tool, might as well use it now. It's not. I think this is actually a default for NoiseX is 0.90 and 0.15.
Yep.
And then STFC the image, do a background extraction, and basically this is where I did the gradient correction instead of doing ABE. So you give the gradient correction a shot. I don't show that showing actually already STF image to see it. This is pre-STF when I took the screenshot on it. I had to go back and do all these screenshots. So.
John, if you haven't seen the videos John posted, you have to take the time because they're really good.
So got the master luminance, and you'll notice I also got the wrong color space on it because I'm actually got the wrong photo on the histogram. You'll see there's colors and it's supposed to be black and white, so there's only one line. I found that out later. It's like, oh crap. Oh well, leave it alone. So I used histogram transformation on this and did an initial small stretch on it, and then I did another final stretch on it. So that's why you see red, green, and blue, but that's actually the wrong one. But I applied it properly on it because I didn't redo all these as I went. This was already had the photos done. I just went through and just did screenshots, and I happened to pick the wrong. I didn't notice what picture it was, what photo it was on to bring the histogram out on. So that looks kind of weird. But you get the final stretch for the luminance there. I ran easy HDR on the luminance after the stretch. That's one thing you want to do for easy HDR. You want to do it after the stretch, not pre-stretch. It's got to be after it. Go back to master luminance.
Meryl, would you say that's true for like anything?
Yes.
You never do that in a linear state, right?
Yep.
No.
Okay.
I get out of linear as quick as I can.
Yep. Then we got the BlurX here, master luminance. Basically, it's a little bit more sharpening on it. I think it was a 0.55 for this one to help bring out some more of the detail of the actual dust length and stuff in it. And then you may have to do this one or two times, and then I set aside the master luminance. So I go back to the master light, and I'll do an RGB combine, LRGB combine, and I'll add in the luminance I did, check off boxes off the R, G, and B, so it's not using those. All I'm going to do is take the luminance channel. The old style way of bringing color out was I would take the saturation on it and put down like 0.3.
Yep.
And I would drag the triangle down to the blurred galaxy image multiple times and would bring it up. But since it's already been done pretty good, so I went ahead and this here leaves the saturation even on it. So and just drag the triangle over to your color image and do some checks, see if green is SCNR if you use if needed, if it's got too much green in it. Final tweaks on curves. So actually, it's not. I don't know if it's quite final tweaks, but sometimes I do things that you shouldn't really do. So you shouldn't. Some people say, "Oh, you shouldn't do 3 or 4 different things at one time at the curve transformation." But this is more for show you how bad I'm butchering the picture here. But so a little bit of red, a little bit of luminance, and there's a little bit of more saturation on it. And I think there was one other one in there. May have been. Because they got 4 lines. Maybe in either H or C. Can't remember. Touch up on it. Or no, it's red. red, RGB, luminance, and then the saturation. There it is. So final tweak on the histogram, basically go down, make it just a little bit darker, try maybe make it a little bit brighter, either way. Then did a little blur X on it. Did a little sharpening again. This is a little less sharpening now, 0.30, less aggressive on the sharpening. Uncheck the luminance. This is the full color photo here. Play
John,
with the settings to see what works.
Yeah, John, did you do a BlurX first in the linear state,
Um,
and then you came back and did this later after it's all stretched?
for all the coloring, for all the like red, green, and blue, and the HA, I did once it was combined. I did a BlurX on it that was the correct only in the linear state. I did a full default BlurX on the luminance in the linear state, and in the linear state, or before you stretch it. Then after the stretch, I'm doing here just basically. This is like another tweak on trying to get some more highlights out. So that's why the sharpening, a little more sharpening on it, but it's like 0.3. So it's not, the first sharpening I did on it was 0.55, and then 0.3 barely does anything. You'll see that it just brings just that little bit extra out. Try not to try to get over sharpened on it. Sometimes you go too nuts.
I've never done that. It makes me want to try it. Thank you.
Yeah. So tweak noise X. Just if they run it again, they still look a little noisy. Whatever you can run. I just ran defaults on noise X again. Master light still had, to me, it was a little too much bluish, tealish bluish color in it. So I brought up the or a little more cyan color, I guess. I brought up the color saturation, and they basically drew little points out there and find the color that you're wanting and just drag that down. So kind of de-emphasize that a little bit. You may have to run it once or twice. So it's not quite as blue overall.
I would have said his final rendition had lots of blue in it.
Yeah. And so here's the final tweak. Well, I actually went out online and look at photos for the Sculptor Galaxy, and I've seen where they're kind of blue, really, really red, kind of a mix. Some of them a little more lighter blue. I went more to a little bit more lighter on the blue side, I think, bring out a little more of the reds. So this is the final tweak on the colors for the curve transformation. So the luminance, I think, just tweaked up just a tad, and I took the I think RGB and like down a little bit in the middle area. And you save your master lights. Save the image. Save as the PixInsight is the XISF, and also save as PNG. And you end up with that. And what's really weird is the monitor or the TV I use. I got two 43-inch TVs here in front of me. I got one I'm doing this presentation on, and I got one that I use on my desktop, my workstation. So, and I don't have neither one of them are color calibrated. I don't have a way to color calibrate them really, unless I go through and dig in. Since one's a Roku TV, they're kind of like, and the other one, well, they're actually both Roku TVs. So one on my left, which is my workstation, is at the color space looks better than what I'm looking at right now. So I don't know what you're seeing. I don't know if you're seeing it's kind of really pinkish, whatever. It's not as bad on the other one. Kind of weird.
I don't see much pink.
So that was the final image. I avoided the struggle bus.
John, you do very professional.
Oh yeah. Is there any questions? Got answers? Maybe not. And also, here's some of the like PixInsight website you can go to. It's not cheap. It's about $280, I think now, maybe $300. And once you buy it. It's good until Dean wants to bring up a new version and want to charge everybody again, but he hasn't done that yet. He's still like version 1.
I do have a request that you put this, save it as a PDF and throw it on the Slack channel.
It'll be on the video, but yeah, that's a good suggestion too.
So tool repositories, PixInsight. So general hyperbolic stretch, if you want to use that, there's a link to where you can get that. TensorFlow config, that's the, and so if you don't know what TensorFlow is, or if you got a graphics card that can utilize it, but you don't know how to configure it, use that link right there, or do it all for you in the back end. Then there's the Easy Tool Suite, and then the RC Astro tools. They're all, I think BlurX is like $100, and NoiseX and StarX is like, I think 50, 60, I think. Yeah, not too bad. That'd be it.
Very good. Very good.
Excellent.
Okay, we got a couple other things. Brian, are you prepared to talk a little bit about yours?
I can. I don't. I had the struggle bus on mine, and I do not have a, presentation put together. But I have my notes. They're kind of caveman notes meant for me, but I can talk through them if you'd like.
Let me suggest. Let me do. Steve, you had yours, but let's finish up Pix Inside.
Yeah,
Then we go to yours. Steve,
sounds good.
You had some of yours. Something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, Meryl, I'd like to just looking at tools. I would like you to demonstrate that the color HDRMT.
Yeah, Russell Croman's.
Yeah, if the people and John is kind of brilliant at this for those who are new. So if you're struggling through like some terminology you're not familiar with, what Merrill and I and John would do for you is like using your data, we would have a Slack channel, that we wouldn't record.
Zoom.
We would just go through this. We've done this quite a bit, haven't we, Merrill?
Yeah, we did a Zoom call.
Yeah, I'm sorry, a Zoom call. So if anybody just, I got this data, I want to play with it in PixInsight, I'm struggling. John doesn't have a struggle bus anymore, but if somebody's on the struggle bus,
Yeah, I drive that thing now.
that's right. Just send a message to me and Merrill in the Slack channel, and we'll go through, just step by step, go through it.
Yeah, that's any time we schedule it. Yeah. Let me just take 5 minutes and do a couple things and show you the tools that I tried, which is a different approach. And then Brian will get yours, and then we'll call it a night. So
Sure.
I'm gonna share my screen. Can you see my PixInsight screen? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be real simplified here. I always take the RG&B and go through the steps that John did, basically, where you denoise them and you saturate them and whatever, and then combine them quickly into the RGB. Then I do the same kind of thing for the luminance, and then I combine them. And so what I have here is this is my first cut, just the LRGB, just the standard tools stretched with just a standard histogram. Probably I don't remember exactly. I can look at the history, but I think you probably used some GHS. But I don't see that line either. Maybe I can nuke it here. Okay, I don't see it, Steve, but you have to show that to me. But this is before the HA's added.
Yeah, looking at the linear state. Do you have a linear of the RGB?
Maybe.
And Steve, I have seen that line on the left-hand side on one of the pictures or that I saw tonight, but
I didn't keep that. Okay, well, I'll take your word for it.
I'll show the snapshot. It's very crystal clear that it's there. Yeah.
Okay, well, what I always do, some of you think I'm repetitive on this, but I always try to find the best that's out there. And what I did, so this is actually Martin's. I had to get the same orientation. I had to flip it around a couple of times. That's why the writing's backwards and everything. But so I said, okay, I'm going to aim for that. That's what I always do. I take the best one I could find, and John found some good ones too. And I said, okay, what's important on this? And the things like the background, his background is 0.0607, which is pretty doggone dark to me. But the things that really were important is the core, brightness, and see the wispies. That to me that's indicative of a well done image. So that was my goal, to go after after Martin's. Okay, so what I did, a tool that I if I can find it right here, it's a narrowband color mapper. And this is how Adam adds his HA into it. I don't know if you've seen this before. And
I
so
have
what
not seen that one.
you say you've seen that before?
I have not.
Well, it's on the utility. Well, it's
Yeah, I've seen. I got that one. I haven't used it that much.
well. So what you do, you add your RGB, and then you want to add another. You want to add the HA, and so you got to select the HA right here. Oh, come on now. I mean, yeah, right. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this right yet. Let me get the, let me edit it, I think. And I think I need to make it the HA. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's got the HA in it. And so you can zoom in. And what I'm thinking about is going back, looking at Martin's and what can I do to mine to match his? And the neat thing about this tool here, we're operating on the HA, and you can choose the color you want your HA. If you want it, more red or more magenta or whatever, you can just choose it. You can saturate it. You can mess around with histograms and get it to what you like, and then you come out with the image as a result. And I don't want to spend, because you can play around with this to your heart's content. But my LRGB after that was this. And this is what the HA layer looked like after I messed around with it. Strictly HA, that's the color I end up going with and blending it in. So this is my getting doggone close to where I want to be. I mess around with the darkness of the background. The thing that John, you tried to get away from the blue. I wanted the blue.
Well, I didn't like the teal color blue or the cyan color. I wanted the more of a natural blue, and I didn't want to. I could have color shifted it, I guess.
It's a personal choice. I mean, there's lots of these simply personal choices. But there's a tool called color correction. I mean, it's a script, I'm sorry. And what it does, you can just, at your heart's content, just move these sliders and you get a real-time preview of everything until you just tweak it to the way you want it. And then comes out with the final version, which to me, I think I tried to match his wispies here. And I did a tiny bit of sharpening throughout the thing on Borex, but just go back and forth. So I always keep the eye on the endpoint and say, what does the image need? I go back and forth and say, okay, that's what it needs. And if I can find his again, he's a little bit, it's closer now. Steve, this is a little bit bright here. So what you were suggesting is okay. Here,
there's this tool that Merrill turned me on to that I think is every bit as important as Russell Croman's. I think Russell Croman actually wrote the script.
He did. Yeah, he wrote the script.
Okay, so we're talking. Yeah, to me, this is every bit as important as BlurX. And where you really see it, Merrill, is when even Adam Block says he actually stretches on the highlights because the data is there and this thing brings it back, using those wavelets.
Yeah, I actually manipulated Martin's image, so let's try that again. Mm-hmm. It's a separate script that I've found someplace, but so we're looking at the core of the galaxy there, and so it works in the HSI color space.
Yes.
And it just does it differently, preserves the colors, and you get all kinds. Depends how many layers. I didn't mess with it, the number of layers, but you just play with that to find out what works best for your image. Mm-hmm. So and then I mean I did it several times before we got to this point. So anyway, that's how I do it. I mean, I always do it in iterative fashion. based on the what do I want the endpoint to be. And so I'm always looking at that. If I need to have more reds or more blues, and I still didn't get to the quality that Martin did. So anyway, for what that's worth. Did I cover that, Steve, what you wanted on that?
Yeah.
But if anybody needs that script, just give me a yell. It really does. HDMRT by itself over here is pretty harsh. Can be pretty harsh on color. And so Russell did it in a different workspace or color space that does a better job of it.
And this is a free script.
Yeah, it's free.
That you just download, and it basically you say, oh God, I just don't have any detail in my galaxy, and you pop that button and it just brings it out.
So anyway, I think I quit as close as I'm gonna mess with it. I actually tried. I think of what I did over here was actually separate the stars and then played with curves to come out with the end point. This is probably the one I would publish if I did it. So anyway, okay, Brian. If I can find them, quit sharing here.
I just pulled up the HA data. I put up all 5 of the frames again, and I noticed the HA data, when you stretch it, it's got vertical banding in it. And some of the highlight through the processing, PixInsight got rid of a lot of it, but it's still got a little bit left over, and you can still make it out in the HA one. But the other ones, I don't see the band on the left side or anywhere.
If you combine the RGB and you know how you have the nuclear button, you do the super nuke button in the linear state, it is really it's dominant. It is a dominant line.
Okay. Brian, why don't we spend some time on yours and then we'll call it a night.
Yeah, sounds good. So I'll try to make it fairly quick. So I'm just so everybody knows where I am. I'm a new guy to Cyril. Before Cyril, I actually used Nebulosity, and that starts back in, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. So I'm finally moving to semi-new tools, or new tools, and I'm slowly getting there after a kind of a gap in the hobby. But so this was, I believe, my 3rd image that I've processed all the way through, and my first image that had multiple channels to deal with. So the other 2 I've done were stuff that I shot, and there was all one-shot color. So this was definitely a lot of learning and progress for this. But overall, the plan was use Cyril. I use Graxpert. That's a free AI-based gradient removal tool. AstroSharp, which is a free AI-based sharpening. I already had Photoshop, so and a filter set called Nick, which photographers use. And then I have bought Star Exterminator and Noise Exterminator, but I don't own PixInsight yet. So Blur Exterminator is not a possibility for me yet, but Star Exterminator and Noise Exterminator and the Nick filters all work within Photoshop. So I kind of started down the road of the way I was going to deal with it was basically each channel on its own, and then I was going to combine it later. That turned out to be a problem. So don't necessarily do exactly what I did if you're playing with Cyril, but I'll talk through it. So I used there's a script. Cyril has a bunch of scripts, and I can actually let me pull Cyril over here. This is Cyril. The interface has a whole bunch of scripts you can run that basically automate you giving it commands. So if you're doing something, you're pre-processing or that kind of stuff over and over with different images, you can write scripts to do that. I took a script and then modified it to do the processing. And basically this is just it does mono data without doing any calibration stuff, since this was already had all the calibration frames applied. I did modify that script to use a 2x drizzle And I wrote on this that this caused issues later. The drizzle didn't cause issues later. It was that I split everything out. And then the issue was getting things realigned at the end of this whole process. So I'll talk to that a little bit later. But anyway, so because of that, the artifacts that Steve was talking about, I saw those too once I started plucking through the data. I just said, I'm just going to lop off that. It wasn't interesting to me anyway on the, the edges. So I just basically cropped in and got rid of some data. Ended up being, I don't know, 660 pixels off each side out of 9,000. So whatever that is, 15% or something of the image total. In the processing of the illumination data, I used Graxpert, which is a gradient removal tool again. I then brought it back into Serial to do the deconvolution. Then I moved it over to Photoshop and did the star exterminator on it. And I split out the star and starless so that I could tweak on each of those independently. In Photoshop, like I said, I did star exterminator. I ran noise exterminator there. So this is still linear data on both of those, then exported that back to Serial. So there's a whole lot of going back and forth. And one of the things I guess I'll talk about is some of the filters in Photoshop don't work on 32-bit data. So there are some times that you have to export as 16-bit unsigned, and sometimes you can get away with exporting as a 32-bit float. So there's
And Brian,
some of that. Yeah.
I would add the human eye can only detect 8 bits of data.
Yeah, sure. But I agree, but my approach, at least so far, and I'm probably wrong, but is I will save all the data I have until the end. And then because if I'm doing stretching and all that stuff, especially with linear data, I mean, you're really going to stretch out, some of the stuff. So if I can save it, that's fine. But yeah, no, that's a great point. And then anyway, so then back from Photoshop into Serial. Serial has GHS in it. So I did that, ran that a couple of times, set the black point, and then I brought it back into Photoshop, tweaked it a little bit with the camera raw filter in Photoshop. So Clay mentioned clarity before. I did a couple other things in there, and then brought the stars back in Serial, and then saved that off. So this is what that looked like. And I was pretty happy with that kind of raw L channel info. And then I had to take a break for a couple of days. I came back to it and basically did the same stuff with with each other pile of data. So I treated the R, G, B, and HA all as separate things. So I aligned all the R data together, crunched through, processing it, really similar process, the G, the B, and the HA. So I had all of those got together, and then I got to the point where I couldn't get it all to align in Serial once it was all done. So you're supposed to be able, from what I understand, is just they have an RGB recomposition tool in Serial. So in here under image processing, you can just pick your layers, and once you have this done, you can actually align it, and that's supposed to work. For me, I could not get it to align. So that, I think, if I had started from the beginning and aligned everything right from the start, that would have made things a lot easier. That's my gut feel anyway. So I got stuck, and and then I literally shelved it until Meryl pinged me and said, "Hey, can you talk about your work?" And I think I said, maybe. So I hadn't finished it. So I started again on it. I did some more learning on Serial, and again, I'm a Serial noob, so this is all new to me. But so I made some notes of, hey, I still have to do noise exterminator. I was going to use AstroSharp for sharpening. Serial has a thing called photometric color calibration, and there's also a tool typically, or that you could use if you have green. So it has a green removal tool and some other stuff. So I actually forgot once I got through the realigning everything. I forgot to do any sharpening, so there's that. No star reduction either. And then the photometric color calibration in Serial would not work. So that was an issue that I haven't solved yet. I've had it work great on other images, but essentially that's just a image color calibration. So when I put everything back together, the image was very, very, very red. Part of that could have been how I processed the HA and R. So when I combine those two, I used Pixel Math within Serial and did a max function between R and HA, which, as I understand it, just takes the maximum value of either channel and then applies that to be, the final combined channel image. But so maybe there's some tweaks on that I can do. Anyway, after all that was done, back in Photoshop, I used Nick's filter tools again. They have Pro Contrast, I think, is a really good one to kind of help with colors. You can also in some of the Nick tools, you can pick out specific color bands to bring up saturation or change the balance, on individual colors instead of doing a mask or something that you might do like in Serial or PixInsight. You can just say, I want to tweak this color, and it'll do it. I fixed the red since I couldn't get the photometric color calibration to work in Serial. I fixed the red using just levels and histogram in Photoshop, and then did some final tweaks in the Camera Raw. So I made some notes. This was when I posted my final image, which I'll show you that now. That was this. And I'm going to go back to my notes. I'll move this so you can see and critique. This is what I posted on the Slack channel. Just some big picture notes. The Pixel Math I talked about. One of the things that I found a little frustrating was, if you read through tutorials or look at tutorials online, they really, many of them gloss over the pre-processing stuff. And I get that that's boring, but that ended up being, I think, some of the root of the struggle bus that I was dealing with. Let's see, bouncing back and forth, we talked about. The other thing that was interesting, this is kind of, I guess this is one of the last things. I talked about red already, so no big deal there. That's the last thing on my list. But the last thing I'll talk about, and I'll show you this, is when I finished, there's a really bad grid shape artifact that got introduced somewhere, and I don't know what caused that. So I looked through everybody else's, and then and I don't know if Super Nuke is a I don't know what that is, but I assume it's super stretching. So if I take this is back to Serial, if I take my image that is already stretched, and then I do an auto stretch to it, you can see it. So look at this. Everybody see that grid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's horrible, right? So I don't know what's causing that. So that's something else I need to fix.
Well, like John said, that could be the HA data had a grid pattern in it. Didn't you see that, John?
Yeah, I can see it there.
It
I
had
mean,
banding. It had in my HA when I super nuke it, it's showing banding top to bottom across the whole frame,
Okay.
almost like Canon banding is. And
Yeah,
when you super nuke the red, green, and blue, you look like the galaxy is kind of giving like a diffraction spike out of the center.
Oh, wow.
Like a band that goes out to left and right and top to bottom from the center area, and it's pretty wide. And it shows like a giant plus sign emanating from the center of the galaxy.
And
But
those patterns can typically come from, like, if you do star removals.
Right.
Did you do anything like that?
Yeah, I used Star Exterminator.
That could have been it.
Okay.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Did you stack all this in Serial?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I've used Serial many times before in the past.
Uh-huh.
I want you to take that data again, but stack it as individual, your L, RGB, and all different files, individuals in Deep Sky Stacker.
Okay.
Then go into Serial, then use the combined data and look at what your results will do next. After I've never really had any luck with Serial stacking.
Okay.
But I've always used Deep Sky Stacker, then take it into Serial to edit it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was reading some stuff on stacking in Serial as I was researching my issues, and I thought that they had moved to the same or similar stacking algorithm that WBPP uses, but I don't actually know that for sure. So, but I'm all for trying new stuff. That's what I'm doing here, is I'm trying to learn and do new stuff, and eventually I'll get sick of this in my PixInsight, thanks to Meryl.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Um,
I've always used Deep Sky Stacker, then take it into serial as individual and combine your RGB, then start editing your photo.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, overall, I've been really impressed with Serial. Like I said, the tools that I was used to are really, really old, to the fact that nobody even knows what they are anymore. So moving to, this kind of stuff is great. I think Serial, though, one of the tools I used, this was probably 20 years ago, was Iris. And I want to say Serial is actually based on that loosely. So Iris was not very friendly to use, but anyway. Yeah, it's
So-
good to learn and good to do all that. So
Brian, is there any like HDRMT tools in Cyril?
there are a ton of tools, and I don't know them all. Let me see. I don't. I don't know. These are just some of the image processing things you can do in the menu, but there are a ton of commands that you can do via the command line that I don't. I don't know them
Well,
all. So
I'm looking for wavelets or those type of terms, and they're not there.
yeah, I don't see them there. But
Okay, yeah. I mean,
Serial, I mean, they may
that's
be.
where you start getting, and when you can use these type of tools, that's where you start getting the detail in the galaxy arms.
Right. Okay. It looks like there is a wavelets control in Serial. I just called up the help, and there is some wavelet stuff in there. I haven't messed with that yet.
Play around with those.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And
Yeah, it looks like there's
report
an
back on
impressive.
Slack.
Yeah, it looks. I mean, this is just some of the help from the Serial help, but this obviously, if you can see the difference here, that's pretty impressive. At least what I can look at.
Yeah.
So I mean, it looks like they have all that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have to use command line stuff to do it or not, but I mean, the thing is, people write scripts for Serial a lot, and then you have all these, so if you had a wavelet, even if you had to do command line, you could write a script that would do it, and then with your default settings, or pop up a window, it'll give you sliders, whatever. So I haven't looked at that yet. That's a great input.
Your stars look bloated. Is that?
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't do any star reduction. I didn't do any BlurX. I didn't do Astro Sharp. But they're huge, right? Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
That's a product of Serial, or that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I to be fair, I kind of got to the point of, holy cow, I finally got it aligned, done. So, which is, I mean, that's horrible, right? But yeah, they're much, much bigger than they need to be or should be.
Your detail in your Galaxy looks really good, though.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna look at it. I mean, you can see the wispies.
Sure. Well, and that was something I tried to keep. One of the things that when I was looking at this is when this was super red, the red, all the wispies were red. So I had this huge area of red all out here, and I wanted the wispies, but I wanted to tone down the red. And so that was kind of a combating each other kind of thing. But that was fun to play with for sure. Good to learn on.
Cool.
I guess if y'all don't mind, I'd like to go through what I've done so far in like 5 minutes or so, and then
Sure.
show you. I don't have pictures except for the last ones that are still in Fixed Insight. Let's see if I can share my screen right quick. All right, can y'all see
Yep.
my screen? All right, this will be a real quick run through, and a lot of this John did also. So I did the blank, even though the blank wasn't necessary on this set of data. Cosmetic correction, my typical stuff, use auto detect, hot sigma, cold sigma. And then all the normal.
Hey, Alan, Adam would probably say don't do the cold sigma automatically. Like if you see problems, come back to that and deal with that individually. Okay. I would recommend you uncheck that.
I'm not even sure if I could see cold pixels.
No,
Or
I
just
don't think you can.
black, huh? Yeah. Okay, that's a good thought there. And then again, went through the weighted batch pre-processing, like we, I guess, all normally do. So
Just a
Indeed.
sec. No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
then the great gray expert on all the channels with the default settings
Individually,
individually, correct. And then I did channel combination for the RGB and put those together. And then there's a process that y'all never talk about, but I guess when I first started this, I found it and I said, oh, I like this. So I did this auto linear fit on the RGB photo. And what it does is, when you open histogram transform, or if you open and you see that one of the curves is a lot further to the right than the others, this will set them at the same level
yeah, same brain.
for the lowest mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good thing to do, Alan. If like you're about ready to do your stack and you're looking at your histogram data,
Mhm.
then go back and do that. I agree.
And it used to take a long time to do this, to look for the beam for all three photos or for all three RG and B channels. But this process came with the Gray Expert in their toolbox. That's one of the top ones. But anyway, it was auto linear fit. And you just have the RGB image in there and hit lowest means and put the check mark, and it does it for you. So then I did blur exterminator on all channels. And then I had, since I had auto cropped during the weighted batch pre-processing, and I forgot to say that here, but I did the, I can't remember the name of the process now, where it figures out where you are in the sky. And then I did the SPCC on the RGB only.
You did the plate solve.
What's that?
That was the plate solving.
Plate solving, thank you. And then this is just the results of the photometric color calibration.
Right. And
That's some really good stuff.
it tells you how good his data was.
Yes, it does. All right, then I ran blur exterminator on all the files. I did a lot of different combinations. It looks like I ended up using the 0.95 setting for the sharper non-stellar for all the images. That was the blur exterminator. Then I did noise exterminator on all the images using the, I guess I played with that too and ended up 0.9 for the denoise and 0.25 for the detail. And then this is a different thing that I'm not sure if anybody has used, but Bill Blanching created these pixel math processes to, and so I tried that on this one. So I used his pixel math to stretch the images. Again, the luminance is 1, and just played with the stretch curve and clip until I liked it. Same with the 8 hydrogen alpha. And then same with the RGB, just played with them all. And I believe that's as far as I got on putting stuff on a document. I'm gonna share my, get this on here. Y'all see my PixInsight now?
Yep.
We do.
Okay. So this is the RGB image after I did the pixel math for stretching. This was the HA. And this was the luminance. Put those back up here a second. And then, so the only thing I did this while we're talking today, is I just combined the luminance with the RGB and got that. I haven't added the HA yet. That was Bill Blanchard had another pixel math process to add HA, and I was gonna try that. And now that I've heard about this MB color mapper, I may try that too.
It gives you lots of flexibility to make
Yeah.
it or you
It
want.
ended up with that type of look to it. I don't think it's quite
It,
there.
it looks understretched. Is
Yeah, and I was thinking I need to stretch it some more or go back.
yeah.
and-
So what you do is it's good to be understretched as you're progressing. Like Merrill does things in increments,
Mhm.
quite a few increments. But I bet if you just start messing with curves tool, it's going to really pop that stuff out there.
Yeah. And then
That's-
add an HA, but yeah, that's why I was thinking I didn't stretch
You
it.
know that linear fit tool you're telling us about?
Mhm.
They've got a great in the same toolbox. They got combined LRGB with HA tool that's like a little bit less sophisticated than
You don't have the tool. We got to get people the.
Oh,
box.
okay. I'm on this computer that I'm on right here, doesn't have the latest PixInsight, and so it doesn't have that toolbox.
Okay.
well, it's not a PixInsight. It's like whatever you use to download the
Yeah, Grasper.
Grapespert
Yeah.
and linear fit tool. He also has a few, and Merrill even showed off one of his color tools,
The color tool is really cool.
which is amazing control over sharpening and all of that I'm just beginning to delve into. But they not only do they have that color mapper, but which is a separate tool, but they have a combined LRGB with HA that you might have play around with that a little
Okay,
bit.
okay, I'll check that one out too.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. Great
Very good. Yeah.
detail.
I need some more saturation in the stars, I think, and I haven't used any masks or anything yet to play with it. But anyway, I think it came out pretty good so far.
Yeah. Excellent.
Those scripts you gave me, Steve, the other day, which is it's cosmicphotons.com,
Yes.
and you can download all of his scripts. Just a whole number, the map.
Okay.
It's really good stuff.
It's so good that I don't even do pixel math anymore.
No.
I don't open pixel math in PixInsight because these guys figured it out and I'm just using their stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
So cosmicphotons.com, you can download all your scripts there.
Okay.
Okay,
Get that out.
one thing that I forgot to mention when I did mine, I did all mine manually. I didn't use WBB just because I haven't, just to be different. Lastly, Steve, you bought a bunch of stickers with you, right? Or you have, because all these people that made presentations on Slack and this win a sticker, remember?
Yeah, Brian gets a sticker, Clay gets a sticker, Merrill gets a sticker, and now Alan.
All right.
Nice. And of course, John,
Brent posted one.
Uh-huh.
Who are we forgetting? Well, anyway, we need to get our heads together, and we'll bring them next time we're together. Or
At the latest, we'll get it to you at the Astroflats picnic.
yeah,
At
there
the
you
latest.
Great.
go.
Thank you.
Does everybody know about June 8th?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've got about 25, 30 people already that signed up, which is excellent for a first go at it.
Yeah, that's great.
I said that many, Merrill. That's amazing.
Yeah, I've got they trickle in every day. So we're going,
And
we'll do a couple more reminders and then we'll call it we'll have a cutoff.
And I think I responded on Slack instead of the email. Does it matter?
I don't think so. I thought you sent me an email.
Okay, great.
I can be wrong. Let me look here. No, the wrong Alan. There's another Alan. So you responded on Slack, huh?
Yeah, go ahead and reply to that email, Alan.
Okay.
Make it easy
I'll
on
do that.
Merrill.
I'll do that.
It goes right into a folder that I created as soon as you sent it to me.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, sounds good. Great meeting. Good work, everybody. I mean, this has been very enlightening with Clay and Brian on new tools, particularly if the new people start and they don't want to spend a lot of money to get started, like we all did. This is good stuff. So, anything else? I'll be asking for input for next month's meeting, but we'll do that on the Slack channel. So I'm gonna say we're at the end of the meeting and I'm gonna stop recording here.